What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Time. I'm your host, Jacob Cutler, and today I have episode number 10 for you. Yes, episode number 10 of Fantasy Time. We did it. We made it to double digits, and boy, do I have an episode lined up today for you guys. We are going over what happened this past week in fantasy. We are going over the weekly highlights. We are going over the weekly spotlight, the injury report makes its way back. The rookie report is making its way back. We have so many things to talk about after one of the best week ones you will ever see in NFL history. I can guarantee that. So many things happened this weekend, and we are going to talk about it all. You are not going to want to miss a single second of today's episode. But before we even get into today's episode, if you are new to the channel or new to the videos, my name is Jacob Cutler, the Fantasy Guy, and each week I will be dropping a video every Tuesday and every Friday. Every Tuesday will be the fantasy video and the recap of the week, and every Friday will be the football video where we'll have our weekly picks. We may even have some a betting information. We may cover more highlights. We may go over more information. Some things may happen throughout the week that we need to talk about. So that Friday episode will always just be strictly about football, weekly picks, betting advice if we got any bettors out there, any highlights, any news that needs to be talked about. So that'll all go in on the Friday episode. So if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that little bell notification. That way, anytime a new episode drops, and like I just said, they're dropping every Tuesday and Friday, you are the first one to know to consume the content, because the Fantasy Guy, he's always dropping the knowledge all season long, and you're not going to want to miss a single second of it. I promise you that. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button, that little bell notification is turned on, and that the big thing is you like this video, because that's how the YouTube algorithm works. I need you to like this video so that we can promote it. So the more likes we get, the better we can promote, and the more knowledge we can get out to the people. And that's what it's all about, because that's what we do here, is we drop knowledge. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so first things first, in today's episode, we are going over the fantasy, because that's what we're about here. We are all about fantasy. So we're going to be talking about the fantasy leaders of last week, and I'm going to be giving you their stats from Yahoo and ESPN, and then we're going to be going over the projected leaders for this week, right? This upcoming week 2, I have the projected leaders from myself, from Yahoo and ESPN. You'll notice that I've axed NFL, because honestly, we don't need them. There's not much that they're going to be bringing to the table, in my opinion, so we're just going to leave it at Yahoo, ESPN, and my projections, and we'll go from there. So let's stop wasting time. Let's get into this. So last week, right, we saw what a hell of a week 1 we saw last week. I mean, some crazy storylines came out of last week. We are definitely going to cover all of them, because last week 1, like I said in the opener, was probably one of the best weeks in NFL history. Hands down, no ifs, ands, or buts. So let's talk about this. First up, we have your QB1 for last week was Kyler Murray, and his outstanding performance in Tennessee, with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 total touchdowns. He absolutely obliterated the Tennessee Titans, and definitely after week 1, he is your early MVP bet, because he looked unstoppable. So Kyler Murray, your QB1. QB number 2 with another fantastic game was, and we kind of knew it was going to be a good game with the matchup, but is Mr. Patrick Mahomes coming in at number 2, fending or just fighting off the Cleveland Browns, just doing everything he can to get that victory, and just praying that Baker makes a mistake, and lo and behold, he does. So Pat Mahomes is your QB number 2. Your running backs, your running back number 1 was Christian McCaffrey. No shocker. I think at the end of the first quarter or first half, I think Christian McCaffrey had 120 yards and the Jets only had 80. So Christian McCaffrey, no real shocker here as your running back 1. Always, and I think forever will be Mr. Dominant. So that's good to see. But your running back 2, a surprise. And woo! Your running back 2 is Mr. Joe Mixon from my Cincinnati Bengals, who put on an absolute show this weekend. What a hell of a game against the Minnesota Vikings, taking it to overtime, blowing the lead, just like I thought the defense would be able to do. Our offense looks great and the defense looks mediocre. Hopefully we can get that patched up, but taking it to overtime and coming out with the victory, Joe Mixon is your running back number 2 for your week 1. Now let's move on to the wide receivers. These also may be a bit of a shocker. Some are and some aren't, but your number 1 wide receiver for the week is Amari Cooper. Yeah, Amari Cooper, what? Yes, Amari Cooper is your number 1 wide receiver for week 1. He was out there balling against Tampa in a fantastic opener. We had a fantastic opening game and we had a fantastic closing game. Again, week 1 had it all. It really did. We're definitely going to talk about it, but Amari Cooper with a hell of a performance in week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Your wide receiver number 2 is Tyreek Hill, Cheetah. Yes, and a fantastic performance against the Cleveland Browns. And I mean, really, did you think anything else was going to happen? Did you think he wasn't going to dominate against the Browns, right? I mean, yes, Tyreek Hill put on a fantastic performance against the Cleveland Browns. No questions that he's definitely probably going to be in that 1, 2, 3 range probably all season long. So we'll probably be hearing his name a lot. Your wide receiver number 3, and this may come as a bit of a shocker, is Mr. Deebo Samuel from the Niners. Yes, he having an outstanding game against the Lions. An outstanding game against the Lions. Doing it all. Making tough catches, getting yards after the catch, scoring touchdowns, making plays. An outstanding showing, an outstanding first week as well by Deebo Samuel. Definitely more to come. We could definitely see his name in this list throughout the weeks. So if you have Deebo Samuel in fantasy, you might want to give him a nudge up to the start. If you have him at the flex, you might want to move him up to the starters because he looks like he may be scoring points all season long. You're moving on to the tight ends. And there's actually a bit of a shocker here because your number 1 tight end is actually not your number 1 tight end. The old number 1 tight end is actually your number 1 tight end. And old tight end, who am I talking about? Oh, I'm talking about Mr. Rob Gronkowski. Gronk, yes, Gronk was your tight end number 1 last week. Unbelievable performance he had in the opening game. That opening game had it all, but he was going off. He looked like the Gronk of old. So Gronk returning back to tight end number 1. Is this a sign of things to come? We will see. Has Gronk returned to his dominant fashion? Only time will tell, but he's starting off the season at a really good spot. So tight end number 1 is Rob Gronkowski. Tight end number 2 was Darren Waller with a fantastic performance in the opening night game against the Baltimore Ravens, right? The first Monday night game of the year, which was mind-boggling, heart-wrenching, heart-stopping, joyful, excitement. Every single emotion you could possibly think of had that game. It was in that game. So Darren Waller as your tight end number 2. Now, as for your flexes, your top flexes, and when I did this, I looked through the list and I went and it was kind of the first people I saw that people wouldn't really have them as starters. So your first flex. Your first number 1 flex is Corey Davis from the Jets, who went absolutely bananas this week. And like I've been saying it, and I've been telling you guys, if you have a chance to get Corey Davis, or if he's still available, take Corey Davis. He is Zach Wilson's security blanket. He will be scoring all season long. If he can stay healthy, he's definitely going to have one of probably his career best seasons with the Jets, because he is 100% the only man that Zach Wilson trusts to throw the ball to. And I'm just telling you after watching these games, Corey Davis is a monster. So if you have him, make sure he is most likely always in your flex position, because he should be going off this season. No question. Your flex number 2 is Mr. Tyler Lockett, who had two touchdowns as well, who had 2 crazy touchdowns in week 1. But Tyler Lockett ends up being your flex number 2. Great performance against the Colts. It looks as good as always, right? Looks as good as always. Looks like he's looked the last three or so seasons. So Tyler Lockett, if you have him for fantasy, definitely a must start. Start Tyler Lockett. You are cheating yourself out of points if you're not starting him. Moving on to the defenses. Your defense number 1, no real shocker here, is the Arizona Cardinals. They absolutely feasted on the Tennessee Titans. Feasted, munched, took them out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then had whatever was left over for dessert. They destroyed that team. Destroyed them. Your defense number 2 was the New Orleans Saints, and if you watched our Friday video, Brandon even said that they need a miracle. Well, their miracle was answered, because holy crap did they destroy the Packers. And not even destroy, not even dismantle, but obliterated, like annihilated, decimated, right? Made them look like the worst team you've ever seen in your life. It made Aaron Rodgers look like a JV quarterback. So the New Orleans Saints defense, your defense number 2, they were all over it. Your kicker number 1. Shockingly, and the funny thing is, he's so new on this team that I can't even find a picture of him in the uniform. Yes, he's not kicking for the Panthers, right? I have him right here kicking. He's kicking for the Panthers. No. Mr. Joey Sly is not kicking for the Panthers, folks. He is kicking for the Houston Texans. But he was signed so recently that there is no pictures of this man in the Texans uniform. So Joey Sly was your kicker number 1, making his debut for the Houston Texans. What a debut for yourself, being the number 1 kicker in fantasy when probably most people, and I had him as my rock solids, but it looks like he is rock solid. So if you have Joey Sly, whatever team he may be on, just know that he's going to get you points if he's kicking that ball. So Joey Sly is your kicker number 1. And your kicker number 2 is, last but not least, you have Robbie Gould from the San Francisco 49ers, right? He was kicking the ball all over the place in what was going to be a massive victory until the final 3 minutes of the game, where just a complete lack of discipline completely unraveled what was a good game. Which will take a little bit of tightening up in practice, right? A little bit, you can't just completely fold away the game, even no matter what the score is, because in the NFL anything can happen. But just a little bit tweaks in the discipline, but no big worry there. But Robbie Gould, with a strong showing in the week 1 for the 49ers, should have a good, very, very strong showing week 2 coming up for the Niners as well. And that is your last week's fantasy leaders. Alrighty, moving on to my projections. And first up, very short, and we'll keep this short and sweet. So for QB1, we have Dak Prescott at the LA Chargers, right? Oof. It does sound disgusting. But Dak Prescott, I think he builds off of his momentum that he had in his first game, and he rides that right into LA, and he has a very strong second game. So Dak Prescott has my QB1, my QB2, and this is more of just a wishful thinking just because I really hope he bounces back, but I have Aaron Rodgers as my QB2. I think he goes into Detroit, and he does what he does best, and he tells everybody to relax. And he just does what Aaron Rodgers does. Devontae Adams will do what Devontae Adams does. Aaron Jones will do what Aaron Jones does, and they'll score a ton of points on that Lions team who we'll see if they even win 4 or 5 games this season. But they do have a lot of fight and a lot of heart, so you can't count them out. And especially if Aaron plays the same way he played again, like he did against the Saints, it's not going to be a good day for the Green Bay Packers. So, for the running backs, we have our running back number 1. I have Alvin Kamara at the Panthers. I think Alvin Kamara runs all over the Panthers. Not to say that the Panthers are bad, and not to say that their defense is bad, but Alvin Kamara and that Saints offense looks like they are rolling after week 1. So, I think Alvin Kamara has a massive game against the Carolina Panthers. Moving on to running back number 2, and this again is kind of more wishful thinking, kind of trying to nudge him in the right direction. That's Mr. King Henry, right? Derrick Henry. I have Derrick Henry as your running back number 2 at Seattle. He's going up to Seattle, right? He'll be at CenturyLink, where the 12th man is very active, but I think Derrick Henry goes in there and he just runs all over them and shuts them up and shuts them down, really, because that defense, we saw it against the Colts, right? That offense is there, but that defense needs work. I think Derrick Henry, I think the Titans bounce back, and I think Derrick Henry bounces back. So, moving on to the wide receivers. As your wide receiver number 1, I have Chris Godwin versus the Atlanta Falcons, right? So, he'll be at home taking on the Atlanta Falcons, who look abysmal, right? The defense looks good, but then Matt Ryan, what happened? What happened? He looks terrible. So I think Chris Godwin goes in there or at home and just dominates that Falcons defense. I think they're throwing the ball all over the field on Sunday. So watch out for that. Wide receiver number 2, and he's going to be a repeat. I got Amari Cooper, right, against the Chargers. I think Amari Cooper has another massive game. He even said himself, right, he views himself as the best receiver, but he even said that he has done nothing to prove it. So that's what he's out to do. He's out to prove to everybody and probably to himself that he is, in fact, the best receiver in the NFL. So I have him as wide receiver number 2. Wide receiver number 3, I have as DeAndre Hopkins. The man had a massive performance in week 1, a massive performance, and I think he follows that up with another massive performance in week 2. So DeAndre Hopkins, look out for him. So I have him as your wide receiver number 3. Moving on to the tight ends, right? My tight end number 1, I have Darren Waller at Pittsburgh. So it's going to be a bit of a tough game. It will be a tough game, but I think that the Raiders, they ride the momentum of what just happened in this Monday Night Football game, and I think that Darren Waller has another massive game out there in Pittsburgh. So watch out for Darren Waller as your tight end number 1. Your tight end number 2, I have as George Kittle at Philadelphia. The Niners are on the road for the first couple games, and I have them still dominating. And I have Jimmy G and Trey picking up right where they left off, and George picking up right where he left off. Only this time he's going to get more touchdowns. So I got George Kittle as your tight end number 2. Alrighty, moving on to the flexes. Your first flex, I have DeAndre Swift from the Lions, and they are taking on the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night, or a Monday Night Football, I should say. On Monday Night Football, they are taking on the Green Bay Packers. DeAndre Swift had a huge game against the Niners, and that defense is tough. That defense is tough, and he had a huge game. So I think he follows it up with another huge game. So you have DeAndre Swift, and if your running back positions are already taken, slide him into that flex, because he will get you the flex points that you need to win your games. I guarantee it. DeAndre Swift, look out for him. So flex number 1. Our flex number 2 is Courtland Sutton of the Broncos, right? He is taking on the Jaguars. The Denver Broncos will be in Jacksonville this week. I got Courtland Sutton taking that flex spot at number 2, simply because Jerry Jeudy is injured and he's gone. He's on the IR. Teddy's going to need to throw the ball to somebody. Jerry was getting a lot of the passes, right? Jerry Jeudy was getting a lot of the passes. He was catching the ball. He was getting a lot of the receptions. He was the number 1 option. This is the time where Courtland Sutton just slides on up, slides right on in to that number 1 option. So that, be on the lookout for that. If you have Courtland Sutton, definitely look to move him into that starting role. If you don't have Courtland Sutton, definitely look to pick him up off the waiver if any of your players are struggling. Even though it is week 1, give it a couple weeks. But Courtland Sutton is my flex position number 2. For the defenses, I have at my defense number 1, we have the Washington football team taking on the New York Giants, simply because the New York Giants have not proven nada. They have not proven a thing. And the Washington football team's defense is nasty. Chase Young is nasty. So I think that defense just goes to work, goes to town, and just feast on the New York Giants. My defense number 2 is the Denver Broncos, right? Taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not to say that Trevor is not going to have a good game, but that performance against Houston, holy moly. The Houston Dumpster Fire Texans absolutely shat on the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think the Denver Broncos shat on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Teddy B and that team and Vic Fangio keep that momentum rolling. For my kickers, my kicker number 1 is Matt Gay of the Los Angeles Rams, right? I think Matt Gay keeps his strong kicking performance that he had in week 1, and I think he just rolls right into it in week number 2. My kicker number 2 is my boy, Evan McPherson. Oh, it's so nice to have somebody who can kick the ball through the uprights. Yes, I'm talking to you, Randy Bullock, with your fake-ass thigh injury last year, week 1. Hell out of here. No wonder nobody wants you on their teams, because you're fake, and you suck. All right, enough of that. Evan McPherson, woo, welcome to the team, buddy. Rookie kicker, big leg, big confidence, knows what he's doing, and I have him as my kicker number 2. Kicker number 2. Alrighty, let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling right along with the Yahoo projections. So Yahoo has your QB1 as Kyler Murray at 26.04 points. And again, we talked a little bit about Kyler in his performance last week, but I think Kyler handles the Minnesota Vikings this week. You know, they're coming off an embarrassing loss to the Bengals where they lost in overtime. And the Cardinals are coming off an incredible victory against the Titans. So I think Kyler Murray keeps that momentum rolling. I think he dominates the Minnesota Vikings. Your QB number 2 in Yahoo is Russell Wilson against the Tennessee Titans at 25.86, and he had one hell of an opening week 1. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. He had one hell of an opening week 1. It's just a matter of if that Titans team is going to bounce back. If they bounce back, Russ could be in for a rough week. But if the Titans team looks as shaky as they're looking right now, Russ could keep doing what Russ does. So watch out for Russ if you have Yahoo. Moving on to the running backs, no real shocker here. We have Christian McCaffrey at 21.38. So if you have Christian McCaffrey, look for him to run. But he is facing that New Orleans defense. So be careful. The New Orleans defense is nasty. If anybody can shut down Christian McCaffrey, it's that defense. So just be on the lookout for that. Number 2 is Alvin Kamara. We talked a little about him. I picked him. I think he's going to run all over Carolina. They have him projected at 19.94 points. Great year, dad joke. But I think Alvin Kamara definitely runs all over the Carolina Panthers. Moving on to the receivers. Your wide receiver number 1 was Devontae Adams. He's at the Detroit Lions, right? Monday Night Football. I think he rebounds. Like I said, I have Aaron as my QB2. I think Devontae Adams rebounds as the receiver, and I think they have a monster game. At least that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping, at least. So I have, Yahoo has Devontae Adams as your number 1. Your number 2, again, no real shocker, Tyreek Hill, right, at 17.49. So Tyreek Hill is your number 2 receiver going against Baltimore. Easily could get those points. Tyreek Hill right now is almost a lock for 15 to 20 points, just like Travis Kelce, every single game, which is ridiculous to think about as a receiver. So Tyreek Hill, Yahoo's number 2. Yahoo's number 3 is DK Metcalf. Right, he didn't have the strongest week 1. He did get in the end zone, but they have DK Metcalf at 16.35 points. DK. If that Titans defense doesn't show up, DK's gonna run all over them. Tyler's gonna run all over them. So if the Titans defense shows up, could be a rough day for DK. If that Titans defense is hid away in the cupboard somewhere, DK's most likely going to be running all over them. Moving on to your tight ends. Your tight end number 1, again, no real shocker, is Mr. Travis Kelce at I believe it is 16.63 points. So Travis Kelce is at 16.63 points, looking to continue his good momentum that he had out of week 1 against Baltimore. That defense is shaky. I mean, if you're going to let the Raiders do that to you, that defense is definitely shaky. Your tight end number 2 is George Kittle at 13.52 points. So George, again, at Philly, I think he's going to keep that momentum rolling. And I think the Niners do what the Niners did to the Lions, which is they start off extremely strong and then they don't get that undisciplinedness that we see or that we saw happen. I think they keep that discipline and they roll the Eagles, who had a very strong showing in week 1. Next up for your flexes, right? And I talk about this. These sites don't really give you real flexes. So they have Christian McCaffrey and they have Alvin Kamara as your 2 flexes. Not much to really talk about. We've already been talking about them this whole time. So moving on to the defenses. Your defensive number 1 with the Yahoo projections is the Cleveland Browns versus Houston at a massive, I think it's the highest I've ever seen any defense projected, 12.31 points. That is crazy, especially after what Houston did to Jacksonville. Now, I guess Jacksonville is what Jacksonville looks like, which is hot garbage. But 12.31 points, holy moly! So Cleveland looks to feast on Tyrod Taylor and the Houston Texans. So we shall see. Their number 2 is the Washington Football Team at 8.86 points. We talked a little bit about them. We shall see. They're facing the New York Giants. I think that defense rolls them. Moving on to the kickers. For the kickers, we have Justin Tucker, right, taking on Kansas City at 10.04 points. Very good, strong showing. That's what he got today with the Raiders, 10 points. So we'll see if he can rematch his total last week. If that's the case, I don't think he'll be the top kicker, but that's how Yahoo has him. Kicker number 2 is Legatron, Greg Zuerlein, who massively struggled in week 1. Like exponentially struggled in week 1, but he's taken on the Chargers, right? And he's projected at 9.54 points. He needs to have a much better showing this week than last week if he wants to keep his job. That's just straight up facts. And last but not least, we come to ESPN's projections. Now the nice thing is it's somewhat different from Yahoo's. So we're not going to spend too much time on the same, but we'll talk about a little bit of the ones that are different. So let's break this down. Number 1 is, and the man who I thought was going to be dominant last week, but he just flat tired it, with Josh Allen at Miami, projected at 23.2 points. Josh Allen, I thought, was going to have a massive week at home against Pittsburgh, but he laid an egg, crapped the bed. They did not play well. So he's looking to rebound in Miami, and that's tough against that defense. So keep an eye out, and that's a divisional game, right? Miami's already 1-0 in the division. Can they start 2-0? Josh Allen needs to change that. So 23.2 points for Josh Allen, your QB1 for ESPN. QB number 2 is Patrick Mahomes against Baltimore at 22.8 points. Now, Pat Mahomes looked great against Cleveland. He looked like normal Pat Mahomes. So I don't think there's any reason why you should doubt him against the Baltimore Ravens. So Pat Mahomes is going to do what Pat Mahomes does, which is absolutely dominate. Your running back number 1 is Christian McCaffrey versus the New Orleans Saints, right? We've talked about this at 22.2 points. Your running back number 2 is Dalvin Cook at Arizona for at 20.3 points. This is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one, in my opinion. That Arizona defense, I think, is a lot meaner than people give them credit for. They looked gross against the Titans. So, Dalvin Cook, 20.3 points. We shall see. I think he's going to have to earn every single one of those points. Their wide receiver number 1, I should say, is Tyreek Hill at Baltimore, projected at 19.4 points. We've talked about him already. I think that's an easy number for him to get. Your wide receiver number 2 is Devontae Adams at Detroit, projected at 18.5 points. Again, I think Devontae, Aaron Rodgers, and then Jones, they all have bounce back games. So I think this is a decent pick for your wide receiver number 2, Devontae Adams. If you have him, start him with confidence. I think they do have a rebound game. Your wide receiver number 3 is Calvin Ridley at 17.3 points. This was the guy I was super high on for week 1, and Matty Ice comes out and just craps the bed, just fumbles everything. Just totally botches week 1 and just makes the Falcons look so mediocre it's not even funny. Moving on to the tight ends, right? Tight end number 1, we have Travis Kelce. No surprise at 18.8. No surprise there. Your tight end number 2 is Darren Waller, right? We've talked about him at 16.1, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Your flexes are Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. So Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook are your flexes for ESPN. Remember, there aren't real flexes because for some reason the app, there's no algorithm for that in the app. So for the defenses, they have the New Orleans Saints against the Carolina Panthers. I could see this. The New Orleans Saints are nasty, so watch out for the New Orleans Saints defense, especially after what they did to the Packers. Then their second defense number 2 is the Washington Football Team. That's the team I have as my number 1 defense. I think the Washington Football Team feast on the New York Giants. For their kickers, they have the battle of the games, right? They have Harrison Butker for the Kansas City Chiefs going against Justin Tucker, right? So they have Harrison Butker projected at 8.6 points, and they have Justin Tucker projected at 8.4 points. So it'll be the battle of the kickers, it looks like, in that game, which should definitely be a very good game. No disrespect to either of them, right? They're both great kickers in their own right. But that game should be great. It's just funny that the projections are between 2 people in one game. So we'll see how it all breaks down. But that is your projections from myself, Yahoo, and ESPN. And then I almost forgot. The one little thing that we're going to add to this little segment here is 2 new categories. One is possible drops and get rid of them. So we're actually adding 2 people to possible drops, and we're actually adding 2 to get rid of them. Possible, like you may after week 1, you're adding people to possible. Yes, after week 1, we're adding people to possible drops. Those 2 people are Matt Ryan and Ezekiel Elliott. Matt Ryan he does not look worth the pick nor worth the start. So if you have Matt Ryan, just watch out. Consider take these next 2 weeks, and if he does not progress, cut him. Get him out of here. You'll see him slowly drop down to that. Get rid of him. Number 2 is Ezekiel Elliott. The man, since he's come into the league, has slowly been on a downward trend. Right? He has never looked as good as he did once he first entered the league. So I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if a change of scenery needs to happen. I don't know if an attitude change needs to happen. But Zeke needs to wake up. But he is definitely on that possible drop list. And then the last one is get rid of him. The 2 get rid of him. Unfortunately, they're injured. But even after they come back from injury, don't even bother with them. The first one is Raheem Mostert, who always gets injured, who looks like the next Jarrett McKinnon, right? Who just basically signs a massive contract with the Niners and then just gets hurt every single year of that contract just so he can get cashed out. And then, I'll just move along. So Raheem Mostert, get rid of him. And then number 2, unfortunately, is Ryan Fitzpatrick. You guys know I was super high on Ryan. You guys knew I thought that if he could stay healthy, I thought he would have a great season. Nope, old man breaks his hip, done. Out for 8 weeks, but we all know what's really going to happen. He's done for a season, possibly career. Career. It's the 17th year on his 25,000th team, so it'll probably be on another team next year. But Ryan Fitzpatrick and Raheem Mostert, get rid of them, drop them, don't worry about them. Don't even pick them up when they become healthy. Okay, we are done with the fantasy stuff for today. Oh, man. That was a lot. I'll agree. That was a lot. But we are moving on to talk about what the hell just happened this past weekend. What did we witness this past weekend? We saw so much crazy stuff. I can't even begin to tell you how crazy week 1 was and how exciting week 1 was. I was fired up watching every single bit of week 1. And the first thing we're going to get into, and I think is the rookies, right? In this week's Rookie Report. The Rookie Report, now on Fantasy Time. All right, so what a week one for the rookies. Holy moly. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. What we all witnessed this past weekend was just crazy. Here's a stat line for you. So the first time that the top three receivers have scored a touchdown in their first game on week one since 1967. Yes, over 40 years. Over 40 plus years of this, right? And then listen to this stat. It is the first time, right, since 1970 that 4 or more rookie quarterbacks threw a touchdown in their first start on week one. 1970. Holy moly, right? I mean, 50 years, right? We're talking 50, 60 years. Not even 40, 50 or 60 years, right? We're talking. I mean, the rookies put on an absolute display this weekend, and I could not be happier, right? We saw Trevor Lawrence's first touchdown, Trey Lance's first touchdown, Justin Fields' first touchdown, Mac Jones' first touchdown, Zach Wilson's first touchdown, Jamar Chase's first touchdown. Oh man, was that exciting. Jalen Waddle's first touchdown, and Devontae Smith's first touchdown. All in week one. We didn't even need to wait. How exciting is that? How bright are the futures of those 8 guys, right? I mean, if that is what we see in week one, I cannot wait for the rest of the season. No matter how they do, everybody, those 5 guys look exciting as hell, and I am super juiced that we get to watch them, and I am super juiced that they are young enough that we can literally watch their entire career now progress, because these guys look like they are game changers. They look like they are league changers. So I am very excited by what we got to see by all 8 of them, I think the stat that I was trying to look up was, what's the first time, how long has it been since, all 8 of those rookies, all 8 of the top rookies scored? I don't think it's ever happened in the NFL. I'm just going to say it's never happened in the NFL. So all 8 rookies came out and absolutely balled out this weekend, and I hope you guys enjoyed their performances. And next up, we are going to look at 4 guys who put on an absolute artwork display this weekend. They came into the season like it was week 10, right? They were frying and firing all over the place. So we are going to check out these 4 guys in a segment that I like to call Weekly Highlights. Alrighty, so first up, we have my man, Teddy B, who hasn't started a game in God knows how long, but he came out on fire. Teddy Bridgewater looked all the parts in his debut with the Denver Broncos. He was on fire, going 28 for 36, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked twice, but he had 3 carries for 19 yards. And these touchdowns that he was slinging were gorgeous. He was moving all over the field. So I'm super happy for Teddy and his week 1 performance, and I hope he can keep it going for the entire season. Moving on to my man number 2, which is the new Matty Ice, in my opinion, which is Matt Stafford, making his debut in Los Angeles for the Rams, right? He was balling. He went off 20 for 26, 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 sack, 5 carries for -5 yards. So clearly the only thing that he needs to clean up in his game is that running the ball. Come on, Matt. Let's make sure we're running the ball forward, right? Not backwards. We want to run the ball forward. So what a hell of a performance by Matt Stafford in his debut. And I was telling you guys, he finally has a coach. Matt Stafford, I even may have underestimated them. The Los Angeles Rams, they may be a serious Super Bowl contender this season with Matt Stafford there. And I'm not overestimating Matt Stafford's abilities. I think you guys are underestimating Matt Stafford's abilities. Matt Stafford is an elite quarterback, and he has an elite level coach with good pieces around him. So watch out for Matt Stafford. Moving on to my third rock star this weekend, which is Mr. Kyler Murray, right? Kyler Murray was unstoppable and looked like the NFL MVP after week 1. Just the growth in this guy's game, the movement, the velocity, the arm speed, the arm talent. Wow, does Kyler Murray look good? 21 for 32, 289 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. That's all right. 2 sacks, 5 carries, 20 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown for 5 total touchdowns. Kyler Murray was an absolute firecracker, and he was not. He wasn't even giving the Titans and even like just a smidge of a glimmer of hope. No. He squashed that real fast, and he put that to bed real quick. Kyler Murray was on fire in his Week 1 debut. Watch out for the Arizona Cardinals if he's playing like that the rest of the season. And your top performer, the number 1 guy I got for you this week, right, is Mr. Jameis Winston, right? Famous Jameis Winston, whose miracle looked like it was answered because the man could do no wrong. 14 for 20, 148 yards, 5 passing touchdowns. 5 passing touchdowns against the Packers. 5 passing touchdowns. 0 sacks. 0. He was not sacked. Nada. Oh my goodness. And then 6 carries for 36 yards. Who the hell is this Jameis? Huh? Who is this guy? Is this like Mike? Did he take Drew's shoes and now he has all of Drew's talent or something? Because he put on the performance that Jameis put on is completely out of character, and it's good to see it, but wow, was that surprising. He absolutely dominated the Green Bay Packers, and I mean dominated, to the point where it looked like a high school team, like a high school varsity team was playing a high school JV team. That's how embarrassing it got. So good for Jameis Winston. Again, 14 for 20, 148 yards, 5 touchdowns and 148 yards. That is crazy. 6 carries for 37 yards. Jameis was absolutely 100% falling out of his mind. Wow. Good for Jameis, and I hope they can keep it up. Again, I have them as one of my sleeper guys, sneaking into the playoffs, sneaking in the Saints. And if Jameis keeps playing like this, I mean, they may be marching into the playoffs, right? When the Saints go marching in, that may be happening to the playoffs this year for the Saints. So watch out. Jameis and the Saints, they could be rolling. All right, now that we checked out some weekly highlights, there's a couple more things that we got to do, and that next thing that we got to do is we do got to shine a spotlight. There's a couple plays that we need to shine a spotlight on, just because of how incredible they were. Let's just say that. So this is the weekly spotlight. First up, we have Pat Mahomes' scramble against the Cleveland Browns, where he did, when I watched this live, I thought he was playing Madden. I thought I was playing Madden, because this is something only you do in Madden, where you lull the defense completely. You lull the defense completely asleep, and then you just you just weave right in there. You just weave right through them into the touchdown. So Pat Mahomes, masterful weave work. Definitely on display here. Number 2 is going to be a catch that is definitely up for catch of the year, and maybe one of the best catches you ever see in your entire life. How Terry McLaurin caught this football, I thought it was a pick. When I saw it live, I thought he intercepted the ball. And then when he turns around and he has the ball, it's crazy. But then when you slow it down and you watch these replays, it's like a masterpiece. It's like something painted, like the Sistine Chapel, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. His head is parallel with the ground, and he's able to whip his head back all the way and still look and locate the ball and catch it. What an outstanding, just a crazy, remarkable catch by Terry McLaurin. Number 3, we have Tyler Lockett with another outstanding catch. The catches this week that we saw were crazy. Some of these catches that these players are making were fantastic, and this one is no different. An over-the-shoulder Willie Mays basket catch. You love to see it. You love to see it. I mean, Russ lobs the ball like no other, right? Russ basically throws the ball straight up and then straight down. And so it comes into your arms like perfectly, like just right into the breadbasket. That catch by Tyler Lockett, the concentration, the skill that you need to have make that catch, crazy. The touchdown celebration, even crazier. Right? It's just an all-around crazy play, great touchdown, great catch by Tyler Lockett. And the last thing that we are spotlighting today is the madness, the absolute madness that we saw on Monday night and Monday Night Football. And we're not even going to get into all the highlights. I'm just going to show you basically the end of the game and how absolutely bananas it was. How you thought the game was over with Bryan Edwards' touchdown, who, by the way, you're welcome. I told you guys he was going to go off. Bryan Edwards, welcome to the NFL. With that touchdown, only to be, no, he's short. He's short. No, the game's not over. Get everybody off the field, right? Everyone was saying good game, right? Well, where are you going for dinner after, right? Where are we getting drinks after this? All that good stuff. And then, no, clear the field. He was short, a yard short, only to what happens? The Raiders do what the Raiders do best, which is choke it. Derek Carr throws a 90-mile-an-hour fastball for no reason, and it smacks off the defender's helmet to be intercepted, only for Carl Nassib to save the day and force the fumble on just the emotions that range from overtime. Just the emotions range from overtime was crazy. The emotions range from the last 37 seconds to overtime was crazy. And then to top it off, right here, Derek Carr just finishes the game with the lob pass. One of the most remarkable games you will ever see in your life, and it could be the spark that the Raider Nation needs to propel them into a playoff year, right? It could be a playoff season for the Las Vegas Raiders, which would be massive. But this game had everything you could ever want in it, and this was one hell of a closer to week 1 in Monday Night Football, because that was just absolutely bananas. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the weekly spotlight. And the last thing that we have to talk about is the injury report, right? Yes, we have to talk about who is injured, right? You guys need to know who to get rid of and who's on the injury report. So let's get into it. It is the injury report. Alrighty, so we have 3 new additions to the injury report. All right, and first and foremost, we have Mr. Raheem Mostert from the San Francisco 49ers running back. And like I said in the fantasy advice, cut him, get rid of him. Dude is injury prone. All he looks like is he just wants money from the team. It doesn't even look like he's interested in playing anymore. So Raheem Mostert messed up his knee. It's not torn. It's not a torn ACL, it looks like, but he did mess up some meniscus. He will require surgery. He is on the IR, and he will be gone for about 8 weeks. When he comes back from IR, honestly, with the running backs the Niners have, I wouldn't even look at picking him up because, honestly, by the time he comes back, he may not even have a job anymore. The running backs on the Niners are a dime a dozen. That's one position that they know how to fill, which is the running back. Number 2, which is Ryan Fitzpatrick with the old man injury, the fractured hip, right? Yes, the guy actually fractured his hip. So he will be out 6 to 8 weeks, and he is on the IR. And when he comes back, don't even bother. I love Fitzy, but this guy Taylor Heinicke looks like he is totally capable of being the leader of that team, and he looks like he actually may even be a better leader than Fitzpatrick was going to be. So I'm a Taylor Heinicke fan, just like I was a Ryan Fitzpatrick fan. So I think you roll with him instead of Fitzy when he comes back. And the last person on the injured list is Jerry Jeudy. which this one's kind of a big one to the Broncos. However, they do still have a lot of offensive weapons, so it's not that major of a hit, but it still is a pretty big hit. He has a high ankle sprain. He is on IR, but he'll be out for about 4 to 6 weeks. So high ankle sprains are weird, right? High ankle sprains can last you 4 to 6 weeks, or they can last you the entire season, right? It's hard to judge with a high ankle sprain. Just ask LeBron, right? It's hard to judge with a high ankle sprain of how long the timetable of return is, but they have him listed at 4 to 6 weeks. And that's all I got for you today on the injury report. Alrighty, that's all I have for you guys today. I super appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. I know it was a little bit of a longer one, but I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, please smash that like button. Please tap on that subscribe button, and then right next to it, just go ahead and tap on that bell notification. That way, anytime a new episode drops, and they're dropping every Tuesday and Friday, you're the first one to know, you're the first one to get the content, because I'm always dropping the knowledge, and it's always there for you to consume, always there for you to gain, right? Because you always want to be able to gain more knowledge as a fantasy player to grow and become a better fantasy player. Because that's what this channel is all about, making you a better fantasy player. So if you like what you see, please follow me on Twitter at FantasyTime2021. Follow me on Facebook at The Fantasy Guy 2021, and then follow me on YouTube at FantasyTime2021. All 3 ways you can consume the content, right? All 3 ways. There's multiple ways that you can consume the content, multiple channels, multiple avenues that you can consume the content that I am dropping to you weekly, right? Every Tuesday and Friday, a new video is dropping, so I hope you guys are ready, because quite honestly, I'm ready, right? I'm Jacob Cutler. I'm the Fantasy Guy. This has been Fantasy Time. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video again. And again, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Make sure bell notifications are turned on. And of course, until next time, Jacob Cutler is out.